Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Adoptions from the Heart TV. I'm your host, Amanda Aliberti. Today, I would like to welcome Cathy, who's going to share her experience of adopting her son. So welcome, Cathy.
Thank you for having me. Hi, I'm Cathy. It's good to see you again, Amanda.
Yeah. So Cathy, why don't you start by sharing with our audience a little bit about what your expectations were when you first were thinking about building your family and becoming a parent, and what led you to specifically choose Adoptions from the Heart?
Okay. I decided probably maybe 5 or 10 years prior that I was interested in adoption. At the time I had a partner, that did not pan out. I decided to stick with the adoption route regardless. So at that point I started checking in with different adoption agencies to see their processes and all that kind of information I needed to get first to understand the process a little better. And then I wound up picking Adoptions from the Heart, and I was expecting a very long wait applying as a single person, and that is not the way it worked out for me. I was one of the very quick stories, so that worked out great.
And when you started the process with us, how long did it take you from application to when you became active, approximately? Because I know a lot of folks ask that question of how long does it take to apply and go through the home study and take all the courses. Yeah. How long would you say that took for you?
That took me, I think, right around 8 or 9 months.
Okay.
So I know some people take a little bit longer. It, obviously depends on when you schedule your fingerprinting and your courses and writing your profile book. So some of it's up to you and some of it's not up to you, just based on when the courses are available. But yeah, I was really trying to just move on through. So I kind of took it on like another job, and I wanted to just do it and be live and have it public. And so yeah, that was definitely less than a year. I would say about 8 or 9 months for me.
And you were very organized and proactive about getting your paperwork done. I will say that makes our life as the social worker easier, because if you're able to move at a faster pace, we try to catch up with you so that we can be at the same pace moving forward. But if you delay that and you take your time in doing what you have to do, that can sometimes delay the overall point to you becoming active.
Right.
How would you say, or what would you say about the education that you received? The training, the different courses that you took? Sometimes that can be overwhelming for folks. Another training, another day I have to potentially take off from work, things like that. Did you find any of that valuable now that you're on the other end of being placed with your son?
Yeah, I think so. I guess because obviously you can't pick race, so I think that was an important one, the interracial course. I have diverse friends, but it's different when, you're in charge of raising them. So the little boy I wound up adopting, looks like he could be my son. A lot of people think he is. So it's not a hurdle immediately for me. I thought the intersectionality course was very interesting. It was kind of eye-opening and obviously educational, things I hadn't considered before, just kind of the overall adoption. Yeah. Which was just a good kind of review of the whole process. So that was helpful. I liked having people come in and give interviews about their personal histories and their experiences. I thought those were really interesting, kind of moving depending on what they were sharing. So I enjoyed that. So yeah, I got a good amount of information from the courses. So
what was your viewpoint on birth parents and the concept of having an open relationship with birth parents in those initial stages, and maybe some helpful information that you got from those courses?
Picking the number of visits per year, I really wanted to give that a good amount of thought. And then I changed it one day, and later that week I was picked. So it was because I changed my setting. So definitely be comfortable with what you pick, the number of visits per year, but really give it some thought and see if you wouldn't mind doing a few extra, because that's why if I hadn't changed that setting, I wouldn't have been shown to that birth family.
Sometimes just the smallest thing that you nudge on your profile key can have you be shown to more folks, and that's ultimately what got you matched.
Yeah.
You mentioned profile. Anything you want to share about designing your profile? I know that can be, an anxious time for folks. What do I put in my profile? What do I want to share? for you, what was helpful as you were navigating those 10 pages and what you wanted birth parents to know about you?
That was tricky. It's kind of a lot of information and a little information, and it's hard to know. So mine was unique in that it was just me. I don't have a partner and I don't have other kids. At the time, I didn't have a pet, so it's just 10 pages of me. So it's odd describing yourself that way in so much detail, but you don't want to do too much detail because it's so long and wordy, and you want them obviously to read it and not get drown in all the information. But then I had heard other stories of one tiny little tidbit just really stuck out to a birth family, and it was, then you want to include all those tiny little tidbits about yourself in case that's the one thing that makes you stand out and it might be special to that birth family. So that was tricky. Mine originally was a little long, so I was advised to dial it back, do a little more kind of bullet points, less paragraphs. I wound up, I guess, writing it well enough and a lot of pictures, just, you know, little snippets of your life. So I think a lot of people struggle with what to put in. Some people worry, one woman was worried it was too professional or maybe a little too rigid. It should just align with you. If you are professional, make it professional. If you're kind of silly or you like to travel or whatever your thing is, do that thing, because that's what, that's who you are. So, I mean, take advice on how to edit, but also, keep it true to yourself.
That's exactly what I would say. So it's interesting when people ask for our opinions, in terms of the profile design. There's only so much we can give, because at the end of the day, you have to be who you are and you can't change who you are. And we want it to be real and we want it to be genuine. So I think there are, there's a method to how to structure it out and the different things that we know birth parents look for when they're reviewing profiles, but ultimately you have to be you, and the right situation will come to you based off of that. So again, it obviously worked for you because you were quickly matched. Now,
Yes.
How long did you wait in the books being active before you got the call?
2.5 months.
2.5 months. That is definitely on the lower end.
Very, very fast.
Okay. And what was your immediate reaction to getting that call and everything kind of happening faster than you were envisioning?
That was crazy. I'm just really glad that I heeded the advice of having the money in the right account at the right time way early, because I was thinking it would be years. I thought it would be 2 years, and so I was like, well, let me set it up. They said set it up, so I set it up because I have a bank out of state. There's not one available near me, so I got a new bank account that was local. Dumped some money in there that was available, kind of more liquid, to have that on hand. Met with some daycare providers. I got my finances in order. The call was very jarring because it was so early, and she was due any day, which I think maybe 2/3 of placements are that quick. It wound up taking 3 weeks, but it could have been any day for me, but he came way late, way past his due date.
And what was your experience for placement like? Because you did have to travel out of state. What was that like? What should folks be prepared for an out of state placement?
That was tricky. It's very last minute, so my supervisor for work knew kind of what was kind of coming down the tunnel here, but still, again, without, childbirth is not exactly predictable. So he was kind of in a holding pattern while I was in a holding pattern, and then you get these calls, and then you have to go out of state, and you travel near the hospital. And then my sister came with me, and we got a last minute house rental. But then we weren't sure how long to make the reservation for, because we had to sign the
Interstate approval?
Yeah.
ICPC?
Yes, that's the one I was thinking of. You kind of just wait. You just wait and you sit tight, and then our reservation expired, so we found a different spot that had space for us. So it was hectic, house hopping a little bit with, a 2-day-old baby, being a first-time parent, not at my own house. So it's stressful, but you do it because you have to, and you get through it, and you sign the papers, and then you can go home and get all settled, and that's a relief once you're finally settling in, and then you can just start setting up your actual life rather than temporary life. So that was tricky. That was tough, but you get through it. It was okay.
Yeah. And even though it may be stressful in the moment, it's kind of a short window of the bigger picture of your child's life, right?
Yes.
That's what we always say. There may be some challenges and some struggles as you're waiting, especially through interstate approval. But eventually you will go back home and you will live your life and you will be happy and everything will be calmer and these will be great memories to share.
Yeah. Very unique situation. Yeah, that's okay.
Well, and I find it interesting because the number one question we get asked by prospective adoptive parents is, how long am I going to have to wait?
Oh yeah.
Right? And I think sometimes even singles will ask the question of, well, I am single. Do you feel like that's going to force me to have to wait longer? And I'm not a stat person. I understand the importance of it, but there's some level of, I can read you a stat, but then at the end of the day, you hear her situation. For Cathy, it was, you said 4.5 months? 2.5 months. So it's like, what's the point of me even saying the stats behind it? Because you can be in that situation where the match is just right and you have to just be patient and know that when it's supposed to happen, it will happen for you. So what is life like for you today with your son?
Oh, it's good. My job offered 12 weeks of parental leave. So I did that, and I wound up finding one of the daycares I interviewed with, they had space for him at about 11 weeks later, which was kind of perfect. So that's how I picked daycare. It's just based on availability, because usually it's months and months and months of waiting. So there just happened to be an opening. So we picked that one. So now he's in daycare. He's doing great. He's crawling, he's sitting up, he's trying some foods and all that. So my house is flipped on its head. Everything is not really where it used to be, and it's furniture's gone. There's new furniture, different furniture. Everything's in different places. It's just a different kind of chaos, and it's kind of set up for him now instead of for me. So it was a massive adjustment, but yeah, now it's just life. So that's his house too.
And do you have any level of openness with his birth parents?
Yes. So
Okay.
I picked 4 times a year. So he is 8.5 months old now. They have not reached out to us. So while I did meet them at the hospital the day he was born, well, I guess the day after he was born, and we chatted for maybe 2 hours or so. I've sent the monthly updates with the photos and the letters, but they have not reached out to us. If you're willing to consider a higher number of visits, the birth family may not kind of cash in on all this. So not to say, bump it higher than you're comfortable with, because they might want all the visits, but.
Well, and that's very common. I think sometimes birth parents may opt for the larger number because they're scared, right? They don't know. They want to know that it's an option for them. But the first couple years, it may be a little challenging or difficult for them emotionally to have that contact.
Sure.
But knowing that you're open to it safeguards them, and they feel more comfortable placing their child knowing that you're the type of family that is open to 4 visits. Because I think that's a different level of value system when it comes to open adoption versus somebody who's only open to say 1 or 2. For our agency, you have to be open to a minimum of 2 visits per year. You can be open to more, but you can't be open to less. So the hope is that you continuing to send the pictures and letters, the birth family will eventually be in a healthy place where they're ready to have that contact, because ultimately that will serve the best interest of your child. So we just have to kind of be patient with it. And when the birth parents feel ready, they'll reach out. But the fact that you continue to send them and you're still open to that contact, that's the important part. And something your son will always know that you've done along the way.
Right. Yeah, I do hope they're maybe available in the future to want to meet us in case he has questions, that I can't answer. So maybe down the line we can set that up, but we'll see. It's up to them.
Great. Well, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience just about your experience? Maybe something that you wish you had been told from the beginning, or do you feel like you hit on all the big points?
I have a reminder in my phone. My profile went live about a week from today.
Oh.
So it's been like 51 weeks that my profile went live.
Wow.
So it was in May. So it hasn't even been a year. And now I have an 8.5 month old. So it's very strange. I wouldn't, obviously, like statistic wise, I don't think I'm standard. But yeah, it can happen very, very fast. So I guess be ready, but that's just the strangest limbo feeling to not know if it's going to be 2 years or 2 months. That's just a feeling you can't shake, but I guess it's kind of like natural childbirth. You don't know when the pregnancy will, happen. So there's waiting with all kids. So, it's a very unique experience, and I do like all the support groups that Adoptions from the Heart still has. So there's, people to chat with who are kind of in similar boats as you. So that's, it's, I don't know that many other families who adopted. So it's nice to have other people to just touch base with and, kind of commiserate in the hard parts and celebrate the good stuff. And it's a little village, a little team.
Yeah, little community.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
Good.
Well, we appreciate you sharing your story, and we're hopeful that this was able to help folks out there who are thinking about adopting or are in the process and just want to hear directly from somebody who's been through it. So thank you very much again. Continue to tune in to future episodes here at Adoptions from the Heart TV.